Fellow bounty hunters, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of RobaFett, and it's pretty late when I'm filming this, about 3:36 a.m. So I just got out of seeing Star Wars Rogue One, and I just wanted to give you guys my thoughts. Being a humongous Star Wars fan, obviously, if you noticed anything about my channel or anything, you know I'm a big Star Wars fan, and I was really looking forward to this movie. Although there was a few things I found a little concerning. Like the Star Wars commercials. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I've just hated every second of just seeing the Star Wars memorabilia stuff. I mean, yeah, it happens, but just like seeing like Star Wars in a car commercial just really pissed me off. The other day, I was just like, seriously right now? Alright, so let's get into the movie, and I'm gonna keep this spoiler free. What did I think about Star Wars? I thought it was pretty great. Honestly, I thought it was really good. It exceeded a lot of my expectations in a lot of areas. I really liked the story. I really liked the characters. No, not too many of them really got on my nerves. And overall, the movie was just really good. I loved seeing stormtroopers again. I really did. I loved seeing AT-STs and AT-ATs and Imperial officers and oh my gosh, the rebellion stuff, the pilots, all that stuff was just so great. But there was something that was missing, and this is something that if you watched me talking about Stranger Things, you'll know what I'm talking about. That show does such a great job of capturing what, like, you feel like you're watching a show from that place in time, and it's just so good. You know, they have that perfect balance, right? And I almost felt like this movie was kind of doing what DICE did with Star Wars Battlefront. They were like, oh, you know, as long as you use the sounds from Star Wars and you put the stuff where it's supposed to go, then, you know, everything should be great. And they kind of put the Star Wars formula into this movie, and there was just a lot of times where I thought I fell kind of short. I felt like I wasn't watching a Star Wars movie, and I have some of the same two problems I had with the Force Awakens. But the Force Awakens was a little bit different because that was a whole new story years later. This was actually capturing a moment, you know, a moment right before the original trilogy, to where, you know, there shouldn't be really that many differences, right? Because it's, you know, it's during that time period, you know, it's not, you know, years before, years after, like, it's that time period. So there shouldn't be too many differences, right? So here was two of the things that drove me nuts. Lack of Star Wars music in this movie, like traditional Star Wars music. I'm not saying that they shouldn't have their own music, but intermingle it, you know? There was just certain scenes where I was expecting to hear, you know, certain Star Wars songs, and then it just wasn't. And the music that they were playing, because even if you think about video games that have made up their own Star Wars music, they've always kind of sounded like, okay, yes, that sounds like a Star Wars track, you know? Like, especially Knights of the Old Republic, that's one I love to go back to. They do such a great job of, you know, having that Star Wars feel in their music. In this movie, I almost feel like in certain ways, Disney is trying to go so hard against anything George Lucas and what he did with the prequels or anything. They're like, oh my gosh, we gotta do exactly the opposite. We gotta make music that's our music, you know? And it just takes away, for me, from the Star Wars feeling. And I really feel like a time when this was nailed was during the 90s, when they were making up all that Star Wars lore and stuff, and they only had the older movies to go off of, and they just really did a great job of capturing an expanded universe, right? But also making you feel like it's Star Wars, and there was certain things in it that were uniquely Star Wars, you know, and I felt like a lot of that was left out. Another thing that drove me nuts in The Force Awakens was there is literally almost no Star Wars aliens to pick out. You know, like traditional Star Wars aliens, you know? And like I said, you know, I don't mind them making up their own music. I don't mind them making up their own aliens, but throw us something. Throw throw a, you know, a Greedo in there. Throw the three-eyed Reese's guy. You know who I'm talking about. Throw those aliens in. You know, we want to see them. You know, and there was some points where we saw some droids in the movie that were reminiscent. There was points in the movies where you saw Imperial gunners and stuff like that, you know, and rebel soldiers, you know, and all of that kind of throwback. But the alien part was just really lacking for me. I was just like, I would just love to see some, you know, more Star Wars aliens. And, you know, I can't exactly put my finger on it, but there's just something missing that I feel like would have made this movie feel so authentically Star Wars, especially for that time period. That's the time period everybody wants to do. I feel like Disney was kind of trying to do the, you know, do Disney in this movie, kind of do something different. And they own Star Wars now, and I feel like this is the one chance they were going to have to make a Star Wars movie that was completely reminiscent of the original Star Wars movies. And they kind of decided to deviate in a lot of areas. Like, for instance, and like I said, I'm going to keep this spoiler free, but the original shuttle, space shuttle for the Empire in Star Wars, you know, for some reason they had another type of shuttle in this movie, and it was in a lot of the scenes. Like, a lot of the scenes had this shuttle in it, and I was just thinking, like, why? Why? We don't need another shuttle. The other shuttle is great. It's, you know, it's awesome. The Empire doesn't need a million different shuttles to, it's just, you know, small little things like that were just getting on my nerves a little bit. And there was a lot of points in it where I would see stormtroopers and stuff, and I just didn't get the feeling I thought I was gonna have. I don't know what it was missing or what, or yeah. So like I said, I want to keep this spoiler free. I will say though that they had certain characters in it from the original movies, and they did use CGI for some of the characters, and for some of the characters it was very noticeable. But for some of the characters, it just really worked, and I honestly thought that they did a great job with that. And even though not all the CGI looked fantastic, like it almost looked like it would be in a video game or something, I respected that they did it. I was like, yes, that's awesome that you're putting this character in this movie, you know, because obviously the actor can't do it anymore. So that was really cool. I kind of had the same feeling that they had in Tron with the thing with Clue. Remember how they put Jeff Bridges' face, you know, how they kind of made him look a lot younger, so he looked like Clue. It kind of had that. I really like the antagonist in it. They took the Thrawn look and kind of gave him a cape, but other than that, he looked really good. I really liked all the characters. Like I said, I love the robot because, and George Lucas, I love you, dude, but this is how you do a comedy relief, okay? Take notes if Disney ever wants to include you in a movie again, which I'm sure they won't. Something very curious about the main character is her name was Jen Orso, and it sounds an awful lot like Jan Ors. Kyle Katarn's girlfriend slash missions officer. So yeah, I think that they definitely took a few things that they liked from the expanded universe and made it their own. But you know, I like a lot of the characters in it, and I use the word like because there's a few characters that I didn't exactly love. Like, I didn't really love Captain Cassian, or whatever his name was. I think that was his name. And there was a few things that didn't make sense to me. One thing I really wanted this movie to address was the transition from Clone Trooper to Stormtrooper, you know, because this is a movie in between those movies, so I thought that they would kind of allude to that or something, or give us something, you know. But once again, I came to the realization that Disney wants to pretend that the prequels didn't happen. They want to allude to them as little as possible, even though there was a character or two from the prequels that actually did appear in this movie, which was pretty cool. But yeah, so, you know, really that's not addressed in the movie at all. There's certain parts where there are stormtroopers that look like clone troopers in the movie, and if you've seen toys for this movie, you know what I'm talking about, what they look like. Yeah, so there's like forest scene, right? And there's all these normal stormtroopers walking around the forest, getting, you know, just guarding or whatever. And then later on, out of the base come all of these stormtroopers intermingled with the normal stormtroopers that look like they would be like more equipped to fight in that environment. And I'm just like, what is the point? Like, what's the difference between that stormtrooper and that stormtrooper? Why does that one have tan clone trooper looking armor and the other ones don't? I didn't get it. And none of them sound like Jango Fett, so like I said, none of that was really ever addressed. Another character I wasn't so crazy about was Forrest Whitaker's character. I really didn't care for anything he brought to the movie. And the scenes he had, he just, the accent, the weird voice he's doing this movie, I'm just like, why, Forrest? Why? You know, I've seen you in other movies. I know you don't talk like that. It was just so weird the way he talked. And then he had like, in this one scene, he has this weird squid creature thing that can read minds, and I'm like, couldn't like a machine just done that? Like, and spare us the nastiness? Like, it looked so disgusting. He did have a henchman that looked a lot like Plo Koon, like a Keldor. Holy crap. You know, I'm going nerdy on you guys, but I was just wondering, is that Plo Koon's kind? And if so, then there's an alien right there. But I mean, it could have been, and it could have not have been. They also had a ship in this movie that looked an awful lot like the ships from the original Republic, from Knights of the Old Republic, like the Republic ships. And I thought it was cool, but I also thought it was weird because there's a lot of things they didn't add to the movie that they could have, and then they added that, and I was like, that's kind of a weird thing to add. I don't know. But like I said, there's just a lot of things, you know, the comic books, for example, video games that have come out that have just had this, it's just been ingrained in me from a young age, you know, and just seeing all of the characters from, you know, just you know, getting to be familiarized with all those characters, and then them just sort of not using any of the alien characters or anything like that. You know, and a lot of things do that, to where they're like, you know, oh, we're gonna have our own alien in this game, like in Knights of the Republic, they had Amanon, they had the, I can't remember what they were called, but the fish guys, you know, they had those, and then they had, you know, they mixed it up, you know, that's what I'm saying. Like, the prequels had a lot of new aliens, but they had a lot of other aliens to be like, yes, this is Star Wars. You know, they had a lot of feelings that were saying, yes, this is Star Wars to me. So, at the end of the day, I really thought it was a great movie. I really do. Was it as good as Force Awakens? No. Not in my opinion. Is it as good as the originals? No. It is very good. Is it better than the prequels? On a lot of levels, yeah. Yes, it is definitely has a lot of, it definitely has a leg up on a lot of the aspects of the prequels, and I can make another video about this other time. I feel like a lot of people tear up the prequels, you know, and they're definitely not great, but there are a lot of aspects about the prequels that we've adopted into Star Wars now, and they definitely added a lot of cool things as well as bad things. You know, so I take the good with the bad, especially with those movies, and I'm doing it with this movie too. You know, like I said, there was quite a few things I didn't care for, but on the whole, it was just so great to see all that stuff again. There's just, like I said, I want to keep the spoiler free, but there's just so many good scenes in this movie that are just gonna make you really love it. And I really felt like I like the second half of this movie a lot better than the first half, like a lot better. But anyway, guys, did you see the movie? Are you gonna go see it? I want to know down in the comment box below. Oh yeah, let me give this movie a rating, right? So out of 10, probably an 8. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. Yeah, an 8 out of 10. I was almost leaning towards 7, but guys, there's just some really good scenes in this movie. You know, and I would love for it to be a 10 out of 10, but like I said, they were just missing a few elements there. But like I said, guys, just let me know down in the comment box below. Of course, if you liked today's video, don't forget to hit that like button. That's pretty much what you do when you like a video, I think. And if you're new here, don't forget to blast that subscribe button. And as always, guys, stay awesome, stay beautiful, keep those Punisher hats on. And I'll see you later.